The President of the United States says he is not campaigning on this bus tour. That you and I should be paying for this bus tour, despite the tens of millions he says he has in the bank for his campaign, because it's about jobs, this tour. What he's doing is presidential. It's part of his duties. It's not campaigning. The fact that he picked 3 battleground states, that's beside the point. Well, let's hear what our president was saying if he was, in fact, being very presidential. Shall we? Cut 1, go.
So let's take a look at what the Republican American Jobs Act looks like. Turns out the Republican plan boils down to a few basic ideas. They want to gut regulations.
Of course.
They want to let Wall Street do whatever it wants.
Sure.
They want to drill more.
Stop. Is he talking to a bunch of cattle? Can you hear the mooing, Mr. Producer? Are they mooing? Can you wind this back up? By the way, this is in North Carolina, the president doing presidential stuff, not campaigning. They've made that very clear. I think he's talking to cattle, and well-trained cattle for that matter. Cut 1, go.
So let's take a look at what the Republican American Jobs Act looks like. Turns out the Republican plan boils down to a few basic ideas. They want to gut regulations. They want to let Wall Street do whatever it wants. They want to drill more, and they want to repeal health care reform. That's their jobs plan. My plan says we're going to put teachers back in the classroom, construction workers back to work, rebuilding America.
The seal. Hold on now, stop. Now I hear seals. Do you hear the seals, Mr. Producer? He's got a whole thing there. Now they're clapping like trained seals. Go ahead.
Rebuilding our schools, tax cuts for small businesses, tax cuts for hiring veterans, tax cuts if you give your worker a raise. That's my plan. And then you got their plan, which is
bringing the cows.
Let's have dirtier air, dirtier water, less people with health insurance.
This guy, he can't believe this crap, can he? Maybe he can. Maybe he's that delusional. So with this $450 billion in tax increases, ladies and gentlemen, he's going to put teachers in the classroom, construction workers back to work. He's going to rebuild your schools. He's going to have tax cuts for small businesses, tax cuts for hiring veterans, tax cuts for your worker if you give them a raise. His words. You know, to unravel this stuff, it's hard to unravel what demagogues say. He's talking about the payroll tax cut. You know, that one that's supposed to fund the Social Security Trust Fund and goes directly into your supposed account to pay for your supposed Social Security pension? I don't understand it. If you cut that payment into your trust fund, into your account, into your plan, quote unquote, where's the money come from? That's his big tax cut. Oh, and if a small business hires a person, say for $45,000 or $50,000, they'll get a tax credit that can amount as much as one time $5,000. So if you spend $45,000 or $50,000, you get $5,000 back. We're dealing with an economic ignoramus. It's just use the word stunning all the time, but I guess I'm stunned all the time. Now the president is still on his presidential trip talking about jobs. Not politics, not campaigning. He said he wasn't, so I'm sure he's not. And there he is at the Asheville Regional Airport. I'm sure everybody in Asheville's thrilled about that. Here's what else he said. Cut 2, go.
So, this week, I'm asking members of Congress to vote. What we're going to do is we're going to break up my jobs bill. Maybe they just couldn't understand the whole thing all at once. So we're going to break it up into bite-sized pieces.
Hold on. He's been running around the country, making an ass out of himself for a month, saying he wants the whole bill passed. All of it. Now he wants to break it up into a lot of little pieces and get it passed because the Republicans are too stupid. Now, I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but this sounds very presidential to me. He's a real class act, isn't he? We're going to break it up into bite-sized pieces just so they can understand it and we can get it passed. Then the world will be magnificent. All these jobs. Now, I love the cops and the firefighters and teachers. But a lot of people who are unemployed are not cops, firefighters, and teachers. What's he going to do for them? Well, I'm going to have a payroll tax cut for you. But they're unemployed. So there is no payroll tax cut. What about the foreclosed homes? Well, guess what else is in this bill? Our buddy Louis Gohmert, congressman from Texas, told us. If you're a couple and you're in $125,000 a year, you're a millionaire and billionaire because they start to reduce the amount of your deductions under the president's bill. Did you know that? In other words, 2 cops, cop and a firefighter, 2 teachers, a teacher and a firefighter, a teacher and a cop. If you earn $125,000 jointly, the president views you as a millionaire and billionaire while he's running around on the taxpayer nickel claiming to represent you. Oh, and by the way, as a side point, all the parasites on parade, the protesters, has the president spoken up for the cops once? Just once? No. He doesn't identify with them or all the small businesses being hurt. No. He identifies with what? The rabble. Go ahead, Mr. Producer.
So they can take a thoughtful approach to this legislation. So this week I'm going to ask members of
that's
Congress...
I'm look, I'm punishing myself. Why should I punish you with this? When he says he's going to take a thoughtful approach, that's enough. He's never had a thoughtful approach to anything. Meanwhile, we have Debbie Wasserman Schultz from Florida, the highly attractive chairwoman of the Democrat National Committee. May I say that, Mr. Producer? I'm not attacking. I said she's highly attractive. If you're deaf, dumb, and blind. Anyway, there she is. We had to Mediaite. Cut 4, go.
We've stopped the economy from dropping like a rock like it was before.
I want to thank you, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, for stopping the economy from dropping like a rock. A rock, not Iraq. And I want to thank you. You did such a magnificent job. $4.2 trillion more deficit. 2.4 million less private jobs, period. You guys are swell. You saved us from ourselves. You saved us from Bush. The last decade was a disaster, and thank God you people arrived on the scene. It was a horrific disaster. The whole last decade, that's exactly how I remember it. Is that how you remember it, Mr. Call Screener? That the whole last 10 years was a disaster economically? Is that how you remember it? He said yes. Is he playing around with that model glue again? Isn't it amazing, folks? The whole past 10 years, and they saved us. I want to thank them. Go ahead.
We've stopped the economy from dropping like a rock like it was before President Obama took office. We've begun to turn things around, but we need to pick up the pace of recovery, and we need that short-term infusion.
Stop. How have they begun to turn things around? Anybody know? Raise your hand. They've been saying this now for 2 years. We've turned things around. Remember that? We see green shoots. Green shoots. See any green shoots? I don't think you see anything being turned around, but I guess somebody does. This is the way they want it. Pay attention to this. I think this is important, please. They are defending the status quo while campaigning against it. Follow me on this. You just heard her say, we have begun to turn things around. We need to do a little bit more. So they take ownership of the economy, and she's done this before. And that idiot Biden has done it and undermined their propaganda. He's done it too. The economy is our responsibility. They are the status quo. They are the people in power. And yet, they embrace what's going on, the parasites on parade, on Wall Street and other parts of our country. They want it both ways. We begin to turn things around. We hate government. Oh, and we like them over there too. By the way, is Debbie Wasserman Schultz the chairperson of the DNC? Has she denounced what needs to be denounced from the parasites on parade? Not a word. let me take it a step further, because I can say this because I'm Jewish. Has a single Jewish United States senator or congressman, other than Lieberman, said one damn thing about what's going on Wall Street? Have they denounced anyone? I haven't heard Chuck Schumer. Have you? I haven't heard any of them. What's that all about? I'm serious. It disgusts me. All right, how much more of this can we take? Now, Obama is at the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial dedication. This is a historic moment, a historic opportunity to be a class act and speak for all Americans. You know, just for once, rise up to the occasion. And here in part is what he said. Cut 7, go.
As was true 50 years ago, as has been true throughout human history, those with power and privilege will often decry any call for change as divisive. They'll say any challenge to the existing arrangements are unwise and destabilizing. Dr. King understood that peace without justice was no peace at all. That aligning our reality with our ideals often requires the speaking of uncomfortable truths and the creative tension of nonviolent protest. If he were alive today, I believe he would remind us that the unemployed worker can rightly challenge the excesses of Wall Street without demonizing all who work there. That the businessman can...
Okay. Let me suggest something a little bit different. Everybody wants to project a historic figure. Obama has no more ability or capacity to project what Martin Luther King Jr. would think than I do, or most other people. Now, I think if Martin Luther King Jr. heard some of what we've been hearing from these people, I think by now he would have spoken up. Even if he supported the movement generally, I think he would have spoken up against the outrageous, disgusting things some of these people are saying. I'll give you an example. I don't think Martin Luther King would have been silent about what you're about to hear the way Obama has been absolutely silent. I want you to listen to this protester who is part of the L.A. Unified School District, hat tip Breitbart. Cut 8, go.
Patricia McAllister. I'm here representing myself, but I do work for the Los Angeles Unified School District. And I think that the Zionist Jews who are running these big banks in our Federal Reserve, which is not run by the federal government, they need to be run out of this country.
Somehow I don't think Martin Luther King Jr. would be absolutely silent about that, do you? Particularly given the history of Jews being supportive of the civil rights movement. Obama goes through life pretending he doesn't hear these things, just like he was in front of Wright, pretend he didn't hear any of his poison. Just like he's with Ayers and Dorn and pretends he wasn't with Ayers and Dorn. Just like he's been dragging this nation into the gutter for the last 2.5 years and pretends he didn't do it. I always say, let's step back and look at things. This is a magnificent nation, a magnificent society. We are a magnificent people. Look at us now. Fighting with each other. Listen to this president. We've never had a president like this, certainly not in my lifetime. He's not rallying the people together. He's not talking about a shiny city on the hill. He is trashing us. He's creating enemies among us. He wants us at each other's throats. That's Hugo Chavez stuff. That's Fidel Castro stuff. It's not presidential. And I don't think Martin Luther King Jr. would be endorsing Patricia McAllister. And I think it's a disgrace that despite case after case of evidence of what's going on Wall Street, Obama says nothing.